Welcome back. You just heard from former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes on the need for Republicans to appoint a commission to examine the politicization of the FBI. I want to bring in the man who will likely oversee the next House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Comer. We also see, Congressman, that retired and disgraced former FBI operative Timothy Thibault is refusing to cooperate with you and the House GOP investigations into all of this. Thibault, of course, opened the Trump Mar-a-Lago investigation. He killed the Hunter Biden laptop investigation. And, by the way, he was also the FBI spokesperson for, quote-unquote, election integrity before the 2020 election. Congressman, good morning to you. Thanks very much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
First off, what we just heard from Devin Nunes, is there support for an outside commission? Would you consider putting an outside commission in place to investigate the FBI?
I would. You know, obviously it depends on who's on the commission, but we have a huge problem with the FBI. And the fact is the American people have lost confidence in the FBI. It's been politicized for at least 6 years now, and it's going in the wrong direction. Every day another report comes out that's more damaging to the FBI. We certainly need to reform the FBI. We certainly need new leadership at the top. But the encouraging thing, Maria, is there are dozens of FBI agents who are coming forward to Jim Jordan and other members of Congress to try to blow the whistle on wrongdoing at the FBI. I think the majority of the FBI agents in America want to do a good job, and we honestly need an FBI. But we don't need the leadership we have now. They should resign. They should be held accountable for wrongdoing, and we've got to repair and reform the FBI moving forward.
I mean, there is so much to look at, from the Russia collusion made-up story to the FBI protecting Hillary Clinton and her email scandal, to killing and censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story. What's most important to you? What is going to be your priority? Because I want to get into this 150 suspicious activity reports that came about of the Biden family and all of their money in and out of accounts.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the facts with Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, the entire Biden crime family, as I would call it. They've been influence peddling for a decade. And Hunter Biden's committed serious crimes. As you mentioned, 150 suspicious activity reports. Those are the most severe bank violations. This is when the bank notifies the federal government that we're pretty confident our client has committed a crime. He's had multiple banks file 150 suspicious activity reports saying that we believe each instance was another act of a crime, but yet the FBI did nothing about it. And Timothy Thibault can resign from the FBI. He can refuse to answer our questions now. But in January, after the midterms, we're hopefully going to be in the majority. I will have a gavel. I will have subpoena power. Jim Jordan will have subpoena power in the Judiciary Committee. And Tim Thibault is going to be a person of great interest for both the Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Look, we need to hold people accountable in the FBI for wrongdoing. We need to set an example. Then we need to reform the FBI and move forward. But from a priority for the Oversight Committee, look, we're investigating Hunter Biden because we believe he's a national security threat, and we fear that he's compromised Joe Biden. So a lot of the bad policies, the energy policies, the foreign policies that Joe Biden has enacted that put America last, we believe this was done because he's compromised because of his family's shady business dealings with our adversaries.
How are you going to get around the fact that they just won't cooperate? That FBI agent who told us all about election integrity ordered Igor Danchenko to erase all evidence from his phone of his role in the attempted coup of President Trump. They also hid all this stuff from Devin Nunes when he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. He didn't know that Igor Danchenko was on the payroll. He didn't know that they were offering Christopher Steele $1 million. What are you going to do about it to get to the bottom if they keep hiding all of this stuff?
Well, we're going to use the subpoena authority. They're going to be required to testify under oath. We're also going to be deposing a lot of people. This isn't just going to be centered around the usual suspects that are in the news a lot, Thibault and Christopher Wray. This is going to include a lot of lower level people. We're already working with whistleblowers. I think we're further along than a lot of people realize with respect to trying to hold people accountable in the FBI for wrongdoing. And look, with this Hunter Biden situation, it's only getting worse. And a lot of people say, well, his father did that interview on CNN and say, well, he straightened up. He got on drugs and he straightened up now. But the influence peddling, Maria, predated the drug addiction. And then if you look at the story right at the beginning of the Biden administration that people forget about, he sold all that artwork for $500,000 plus. We're pretty confident that artwork went to China. And we want to know more about who bought that. So there's been misdeeds that have happened with Hunter Biden in both the Obama-Biden administration and the Biden administration. So we've got a lot of answers to get for the American people. We're not going to let up, but we have to have subpoena power. So these November 8th elections are crucial to be able to give the American people the answers they want. And the last thing that everyone that watches your show, Maria, they want people held accountable for wrongdoing. It seems like no one's ever held accountable for wrongdoing. We realize this in the Republican majority, and we want to focus on trying to hold people accountable in addition to fixing the problems at the FBI and with the Biden influence peddling.
Congressman, this could not be more important. The three countries that apparently have given the Biden family the most money: China, tens of millions of dollars; Russia, we know we have identified a $3.5 million check from the former mayor's wife of Moscow, who sent money to the Biden family; Ukraine, which is now getting crushed by Russia. These are the countries that Joe Biden has to make decisions about on behalf of the American people. How can he, if he's compromised and has taken all this money in? Look at this last email that was exposed by your colleague Devin Nunes. I'm sorry, by your colleague Darrell Issa from the Hunter laptop. And it basically shows Jim Biden trying to lobby the Qataris, saying my family could provide a wealth of introductions and business opportunities at the highest levels. And here you are telling us about the art. What arrogance! How much arrogance can one have after all of this that has been exposed in a laptop, that you could actually begin becoming president and have your son do artwork and sell it to the Chinese, still continuing that influence peddling, even while he's a sitting president?
It's sickening. And again, where was the FBI on all of this? That email shows that this family was engaged in influence peddling. There's a lawsuit in Kentucky now with the president's brother where he was trying to sell his services to a healthcare startup in Nashville, Tennessee, that he could acquire seed capital from the United Arab Emirates. So it's not just China, Ukraine, Russia. It's the Middle East, too. All the places where Joe Biden's made huge mistakes, you can trace back to influence peddling from his family. And that's why it's so important that we investigate Hunter Biden, because he has probably compromised this administration, and the American people deserve better.
Yeah, and Tony Bobulinski told me that their next sites were on Colombia, Brazil, and that part of the world. So they were not stopping at all. Congressman, thank you. We will continue following your very, very important work. We will see you soon. Congressman James Comer.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.